I know, and it's really unfair, to throw someone in a position and expect them to do things they've never been taught to do, or maybe they've never even seen it done well in the first place, depending on who is their predecessor. And the accountability, for instance, is a serious skill. It is something that can be learned. You need to know how to do it, which is the skill set part. You need to know how to set expectations, how to give effective feedback, how to hold people accountable in a manner that's conversational rather than taking out your big, bad accountability voice and making their defenses go up. You need to know how to establish and apply consequences. That's all a skill set, but it also requires the right mindset.
Stay tuned and find out how to put all that into practice with Dave Anderson, Mr. Accountability himself, the author of 15 books, most recently, The Intentional Mindset, Developing Mental Toughness and a Killer Instinct, is coming right up on the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast. Parts Edge, the power tool for your parts department. Streamline the process to maximize everyone's time and, most importantly, the ROI of your inventory. Reach out to Parts Edge to learn more. Fixed Ops Marketing is the original video marketing and full-service marketing solution for fixed operations. We offer a variety of SEO video and couponing solutions that include automated dealership-branded videos, social media automation, custom landing pages, transparent, multi-channel Google business profiles, and social media drip campaigns, video SEO, email marketing, lead generation, conversion tools, and much more. Our solutions live within and enhance your website, running 24/7, 365, are fully automated and are compatible on any device. We manage the details for you, send out reporting automatically, and reach out to you monthly to review results and suggest offers. AI fully functioning admin is always available to you. Reach out to Fixed Ops Marketing today. Also, a thank you to Bailey, Dynatron Software, Dealer Scanning, and Recall Masters. All of these companies can help accelerate your fixed operations growth, and you should reach out to them today. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention Quantum 5, skills that power your team to higher profits and retention. As my previous podcast last week said, training in automotive is broken. Quantum 5 is profit-focused, science-based, and people-centered. Training has been a singular event for too long, and the impact on people and dealers is unfair. Meet Quantum 5, a training program that helps your whole team improve their skills in a way that translates to more profit, greater CSI, retention of customers and employees, and a culture change that impacts the customer experience. A blend of in-person learning experience, creation of a dealership learning community for post-training success, something that's never been done before, sustainment, and goal setting for accountability is the key to unlocking transformative change. The results? Your people sell more, additional appointments are created, your leaders are more effective, service BDCs produce measurable ROI, and your customers gain a better experience, leading to higher CSI. Quantum 5 works this through a 3-step process: assess and design, then implementation, and then sustainment. Community paired with technology to develop greatness. We know this is new. We know it's different. We know that you don't necessarily completely understand how or what we do. Reach out to us today and we'll explain it. Once we show you, You're going to want to be a part of it. Quantum5.ai. Reach out today. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast. We are excited to have our guest, Dave Anderson, with us today. Dave, welcome.
Great to be with you, Dave.
Excellent. So, Dave, if it's possible for anybody in the car business that doesn't know who you are, and just give a little brief introduction of who you are and how you wound up doing what you do.
I started as a salesperson back in the 80s at a dealership in Texas. Over a number of years, worked my way up and ended up running a group out in northern California. Was a front-end operations director there. It got sold to a public company about 21 years ago, and we started LearnToLead then, my wife and I. I've written 15 books. I've had the pleasure of speaking in, I think it's 20 countries now, usually about 100 times a year, unless there's a pandemic. Then it gets pared back a little bit. And we're based out here north of LA in the Agora Hills area. We have a training center here. And we work with all kinds of industries, though, Dave. I mean, car business is still our niche, but principles are principles. And because of the books I write, we work with athletic teams and banks and oil companies. And I mean, everybody needs to hold folks accountable and hire the right people to begin with. So there's my 2-minute history.
Absolutely. That accountability is a big, important word, isn't it? I was talking in my coaching program, the Vision and Values coaching program this week, about accountability versus liability, with holding people accountable without necessarily assigning blame to somebody. And
it's huge. And people are more reluctant. I have found we actually have a 2-day class on accountability. That's all we talk about for 2 days.
Wow.
I've had people say, is there really that much to talk about? It's like, well, I could go for 5 days, but nobody would come to that class.
That's right.
So we limit it to 2, but it's a big deal. And people are more reluctant today, I think, because of a lot of things, cultural pressure, political correctness, afraid to hurt somebody's feelings, not being trained to do it the right way. I mean, if you don't know what you're doing, you can make a mess out of things.
Yeah, that's a big one.
But it's really, at the end of the day, it's one of the most important things we do. And if you're in a leadership position, it's really not an option. It's a duty. It comes with the territory because there's so much at stake if you don't do it. Yeah. I mean, it protects your culture. It protects morale, momentum. It protects your own credibility. It protects the brand and the customer experience. And people find every reason not to do it. I don't know how the person will react. What if they leave? I'm shorthanded. And the fact is, if you have the right skill set and the right mindset, because it takes both, this needs to be an ongoing discipline to protect all those things I've talked about. And the time people are least likely to do it, as I'm sure you have seen many times, is when things are going well.
Right.
I mean, they wait for the bottom to fall out. Oh, now we got to get in front of old Fred over there and get it turned around. But when things are going well is precisely the time you want them to keep going well. You don't want to start to develop cracks and holes in that foundation. And so, as prosperity rises, urgency falls, and accountability fits right into that category. But this is something that people need to get better at. It's something they need to be trained at how to do before they're even in a leadership position, because, again, there's so much at stake if they don't do it, and they don't do it well.
Right. And that's a big problem that we have in a lot of industries, but especially in the automotive industry, that we don't train our leaders to be leaders, right? It's the next person for the chair. That the service manager got fired or quit or left or whatever, And so they take the great service advisor and say, you're the next service manager. And then they're firing him 6 months later because he didn't get the job done, but they never told him what the job was.
I know. And it's really unfair, to throw someone in a position and expect them to do things they've never been taught to do, or maybe they've never even seen it done well in the first place, depending on who is their predecessor. And the accountability, for instance, is a serious skill.
Yes.
It is something that can be learned. You need to know how to do it, which is the skill set part. You need to know how to set expectations, how to give effective feedback, how to hold people accountable in a manner that's conversational rather than taking out your big, bad accountability voice and making their defenses go up. You need to know how to establish and apply consequences. That's all a skill set. But it also requires the right mindset. You've got to make yourself do it even when you don't want to do it. A lot of times we know how to do it. We still don't do it. Because he's been with me a long time. He's my buddy and all this other stuff. And we just really sell out the rest of the team for that own person's comfort. And for our own comfort, if most managers were honest, it's not so much a matter of personal compassion, not holding that person accountable. It's personal convenience. It's just easier on them not to do it right now, and they kick the can down the road, and it doesn't get better, it gets worse over time.
Yes, 100% agree with that. It is definitely for the personal convenience of the person that needs to hold somebody accountable. That it may not be 100% of the time when it doesn't happen, but it's pretty close to that. And as you said, when things are going well is the time when you really need to be doing that, right? You've got that bicycle moving, you need to keep pedaling, or that bicycle's going to stop, and it's not going to be so easy to balance that thing anymore.
Well, one of the questions I ask to build on that point in my seminars is I ask the question, would you agree that poor performance and poor performers break momentum? And everybody agrees. They raise their hand. I say, okay, I agree with you. They create distractions. They lower morale. Somebody else has got to clean up the mess. You have to stop what you're doing and address the issue. They break momentum. Now, think about the second question. When does it hurt worse to lose your momentum? If you're driving a bus and you're in neutral and you have a blowout, or when you're going 100 miles an hour and you have a blowout, when is something really bad going to happen? It's when you're doing really well. So the irony is at precisely the time it hurts us worse, which is when we're doing really well, is when we're least likely to do it. And we just set ourselves up for a big fall. And I think one of the reasons is how we see doing it, Dave. A lot of times we look at it, it's, I hate to do this to somebody. We got to stop looking at it that way. Accountability, this will help the mindset part, maybe for some of the folks that are reluctant to do it. If you think of it this way, accountability is not something you do to someone, it's something you do for someone. Hey, think about it. Now, they may not see it that way, but you're not responsible for how they see it. You're responsible for doing your job.
Absolutely.
And but I see managers that sit down and they start apologizing. They say, Dave, I hate to have to do this, or I hate to, and immediately they've messed it up, because when you say, I hate to have to do it, or you apologize, you've made them the victim and you the bad guy. Because they're there like, what are you going to do to me? And they get all defensive. But if we realize, listen, if I really care about this person, I've got to confront them. If I've got to care enough about them to tell them the truth, to get them back on the right track. If I really care about you, I'm not going to let you walk off the cliff on my watch, and I'm not going to let you make it harder on the rest of the team either, because I care about the rest of the team. So if we look at it as, listen, I need this is something I'm doing for you to help you improve, to help you keep your job, to help you take care of your family. You're more likely to do it if you look at it the right way. It's like raising kids. Most of us, there's some real similar parallels there. We have some do's and don'ts, and we have some consequences if they don't do the do and they do the don't. And when it comes time to hold that child accountable, we're not doing it because we're mean or we're a bully or we don't care about them or we're just mad at them. We want something better for them. And it's the same when you're growing a team. And I think if people would look at it that way, it helps get over that hurdle of reluctance to, I hate to do this to them. And realize I owe this to them. They need to know the truth. They need to know what success looks like, and that what they're doing is going to get them in severe danger over time, and we've got to get it turned around.
Right. And they need to know that it also affects other people besides just themselves, right? Like you said, the team. We have a responsibility as leaders to the whole team, not to just that one individual. And approaching it the right way, which I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot of leaders out there who have never been shown the right way to do things. I was very, very lucky in this industry. I came up in the automotive industry where nobody gets any training, and I was very lucky to have 3 very important mentors in my life that taught me the things that I needed to be able to be the leader that I am now. And a lot of people don't get that, and that's the reason that I started my Fixed Ops Mastermind that I do weekly, and the reason I do this podcast is I want people to be able to get that and to understand that, because some of these things are very simple principles, but extremely hard to execute, especially if you don't know how to properly do that.
It's very true. It's the old adage, the things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. To make that example, I asked the question in my seminar, is it easy to get down and do 5 push-ups? It's also easy not to do it. Although I did have a guy ask one time, in a row? I said, yeah, the idea would be to do them in a row, not over a 6-week period. But it's the things that are easy to do are easy not to do, again, especially when things are going well. But what a lot of leaders down deep, here's what holds them back too, Dave. It's not just the mindset. It's the fact that they know in many cases they haven't been clear enough about what they expect in the first place. Mm-hmm. And so knowing that, ambiguity is the enemy of accountability.
Yes.
All right. And so if Dave, you can't sit down with me and say, hey, Anderson, you're not cutting it if you haven't been resolutely clear about what cutting it is. You can't really tell me you're not living the values if you never talk about the values. Mm-hmm. Dave, you're not supporting the mission if you never talk about the mission. And so we leave it unclear sometimes, and deep down we're reluctant to sit down and have that conversation because we know we either haven't been clear enough about the outcome we expect, or more often, the daily activities we expect that are most predictive of creating that outcome. A lot of times we'll create the outcome. Here's what you need to do this month. But we're not clear enough about what that looks like daily. Out of the 40 things coming at you today, these are the 4 that are the non-negotiables that must be executed with excellence, without excuse, regardless of the cost, because they're big deals and they're most predictive of taking you to that outcome. We're not clear with that stuff. Mm-hmm. And so inwardly, we're reluctant to hold them accountable. You can't have accountability without clarity.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a powerful statement right there. That is absolutely true. And I'll relate this in the fixed ops side of the world with multi-point inspections for technicians to do multi-point inspections. There are a lot of times when a technician will not want to do one. The car's too new. The car was just here 2 days ago, and unless you have laid down those expectations that it's every car, every time, and here's the reason for that, to give them the reasons why it's every car, every time. It's not just because I said to do it. It's to protect the person driving that car that knows nothing about a car. It's to protect you, the person inspecting the car, to make sure that you have reported everything that's wrong with that car that could cause potential injury or harm to the person driving it. There's a lot of things that go into it, but if you don't explain that to them, then that's just me up there pounding on my chest saying every car, every time, and you better do it.
Well, you bring up a big point. Viktor Frankl wrote in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, back probably 60, 70 years ago, whenever it was. Now I'm getting old. I lose track of the decades. But he said people can live with any why if they understand the what and the how. If they understand, if I understand why I have to do it, then whatever I have to do and however I have to do it, I'll do, because I understand the purpose behind it. And what you just said is a key. We have to go that next step, not just because I said so, but when people understand the benefits, why they're doing it, they're more likely to do it. And what often happens is people will also say, well, okay, I understand, but I just don't like the process. I don't like our process here. And I tell this to athletic teams that I work with, because they have processes too, workouts, regimens, things they have to do on and off the court and so forth. I said, let me take some pressure off of you. And I think it's helpful for managers to tell their people this. You don't have to love a process. You don't. I'll take that pressure off of you. You don't even have to like it. You just have to love where it'll take you and do it every single time. It's like if you're trying to lose weight, that's a miserable process. It's not always fun. You have to eat stuff you don't like and stop eating stuff you do like and get up and do stuff in the morning that makes you sweat. You don't have to love it. You don't even have to like it, but you got to love where it'll take you and do it every single time. And so when people understand that it's going to get them to where they want to go, and they understand why they're doing it, it helps take down some of that resistance.
Yeah, and that's what we need to do as leaders, right, is to paint that vision for our team so they can understand what does this do for my life. What does doing that multi-point do for my life? Well, that multi-point is going to allow you to find other things wrong with the vehicle that the service advisor thing can sell. You can do the work, you make the hours, and at the end of the week, you get a paycheck for that. And that paycheck feeds your family, takes yourself on vacation, buys the new car that you want, whatever it is. As you said, they can... The what is what needs to be explained very well to them. And then they can, and as you said, they don't have to like it. And I've said that to plenty of people. You don't have to like it, but I do need you to do it. And here's why I need you to do that. And this is what the benefit is for you at the end of it.
That's right. And what you find is even if they don't like to do it, if they do it and they start getting results, they start liking it. Right. It's one of those things to where they're not paying the price anymore. They're enjoying the price because they see that it works. They're seeing the fruits of their labors. Now, the problem with that some managers have, though, is their expectations right now are not clear enough, and they won't redefine them. And I highly recommend it's absolutely a great practice. If you don't think your values are clear enough, the outcomes you expect are clear enough, or the processes or daily activities are clear enough for an advisor, a tech, it doesn't matter. Redefine them.
Yes.
Redefine them. Don't stay in that gray area. But now do it the right way. Don't come down heavy-handed like there's a new sheriff in town. I went to a seminar and I realized you sluggards are slipping up and there's a new sheriff in town and we're starting fresh today. That stuff will make everybody's life miserable. Right. But I think it's really helpful. And, this is a fairly fresh year right now. It's psychologically, it's a really advantageous time to reintroduce some new expectations or clarify them at least. People kind of expect that.
Sure.
But you sit down or you go into your next meeting, you say, team, we have some big goals this year as a team. And I realize as I look in the mirror, I haven't been as clear as I should about what I expect from each of you. And I own that, and that's on me, but I'm fixing that today. I mean, when this meeting's over, I want to start getting with each of you individually, and I want to get us on the same page. I want to give you some really clear targets to shoot at to help you become more successful. Because let me tell you something, if we all step up just a little bit between now and the end of the year, we can make something very special happen in the service department. And if you present it that kind of way, you're not singling any one person out. You're saying if we all step up a little bit is not intimidating. You're taking responsibility that it hasn't been clear enough in the past. Why are you doing it? To get us on the same page. That's a positive. To give you some clear targets to shoot at. That's a positive. To help you become more successful. That's a positive. This is a collaborative way to do it. And for those that are listening, if you're not sure whether or not your expectations are clear enough, they're not. If you're not sure whether they are or not, they're not. So it's not about fault. It's about fixing it. Go fix it.
Right. And we always need to make sure that not only are we clear about our expectations, but that clarity is actually heard by our teams, right? We need to, we know what we said, but did they hear what we said? So we need to make sure that they actually do understand what we are telling them, what we expect of them. And I can tell you, Dave, I have stood in front of my team, not the team I'm with now, but previous teams, and had that conversation and said, I have let you down. I did not do what I should have been doing. I did not hold you accountable, and therefore we have slipped in the metrics that we're looking for. But that stops today. We will now move forward as a team, and we will correct this. And you have my apology and my full responsibility that this was on me, not on you guys. And now we will reintroduce the plan, and we'll get back on track. And that holds a lot of weight with a team. When you're not going to sit there and just go back at them and say, hey, you guys really screwed this up. And they're going, well, that's because you didn't tell Joe that he did a bad job when he did, right. You know?
Now, the way you just presented it, it just makes the defenses go down. Yeah. You know, heels don't have to dig in. Defenses don't have to go up. They go down because you're connecting with them. You're being transparent with them. Mm-hmm. And now whether it's subconsciously or not, I do think one reason many leaders don't want to get too clear about what they expect is because they do put themselves in a corner. If I'm going to say this is non-negotiable and this is what has to happen, then if it doesn't get done, then you are obligated to do what you said you're going to do. So I think either consciously or unconsciously, a lot of managers leave it kind of vague, so they give themselves and the person a little wiggle room. Right. But that's a strategy of surrender. That's no way to lead. We've got to stand for something, or we end up falling for pretty much everything. Right. And as a leader, this is your responsibility to define reality. You've got to define, this is reality in my department. These are the non-negotiables. It's okay to have non-negotiables. That doesn't make you a micromanager. Everybody's afraid, you know, and employees, they will use that micromanager thing to manipulate you to back off. But if you look up the definition of micromanage, it says to control with excessive attention to minor details. Mm-hmm. All right. Now there's some real insight in that definition. But non-negotiables are not minor details. Right. There are some things in a department, any department, you got to hold in a death grip because they're big deals. Because if we do them well, and we do them consistently, they're going to take us to where we want to go. Yes. And so, you know, that we have to have that handful of non-negotiables that really build the culture in our organization. But then after we do that, we got to give feedback on it too. You know, feedback is a big part of accountability because it keeps the gray area out. If people are doing well, you let them know about it. Yep. If they're off track, you let them know about it. And the longer you wait in either case, the less it means. So you got to get there quicker, which is hard for a lot of managers who spend too much time in their office getting dazed by data and numbed by numbers and polishing a chair with their rear end. And they're not spending enough time in the trenches seeing what's going on. And so how good is their feedback going to be? Right. It's going to be way too late. It's going to be after the numbers are on the scoreboard. They're confusing the scoreboard for the game. They've gotten out of the game and they're just watching what ends up on the scoreboard. And they've got to do better than that. They've got to stay more engaged because feedback, as Ken Blanchard said, is the breakfast of champions. If people are doing well, they need to hear about it. They're more likely to keep doing it. If they're off track, they need to hear about it so they can get back on track. Yes. And I think nowadays, I think you touched on this earlier, is a lot of managers and leaders are afraid of that feedback to their teams. I think they're afraid that either they're going to hurt somebody's feelings or that, like you said, that this person's going to leave or they're not going to produce today if I hold them accountable for X, Y, and Z today. But really what ends up happening is, number one, if that person leaves because you're holding them accountable, they're not a person you wanted on your team to begin with. That's right. That would be my argument. And typically what happens as you start to hold people accountable, everybody wants some semblance of order in their life, right? These are a lot of people who maybe know their specific job, but don't always know how that fits into the organization, and that by laying this strategy out for them clearly, then holding them accountable to it, they start to understand more where it does fit in, what they're doing does fit in with other parts of the organization, and you end up with more performance over the long term, right? But by having these teams, you get high-performing teams because of what you're doing. Well, you absolutely do. You absolutely do. And the key to feedback is a skill. You know, people get angry, they get personal, they get profane. They humiliate people with feedback, and all that stuff just makes you look like a fool. It doesn't make the person look bad. You look like a complete fool when you do that. Right. Feedback should be conversational. Part of growing up as a leader, some people grow old, they don't grow up. Part of growing up as a leader is getting control of your emotions and understanding that if you deliver the message the wrong way, it doesn't matter how right the message is, it's not going to get through.
Right.
It's such a distraction. They can't even hear what you're saying. And so I talk to people about having a conversation. Accountability should be a conversation.
Yes.
All right. You don't whip out your big, bad, get up on a lectern accountability voice. We need to talk. None of that stuff. Conversations are not threatening. They're easier to listen to. They're more likely to get through. You bring somebody aside. You say, let me tell you something, Dave. What you just did with that customer, that violated these two values. Okay. Now, if everybody does what you just did, we don't have a chance of reaching our vision this month. Mm-hmm. So let me show you again how to handle that situation. I expect you to do it that way from here on out. Okay. We good? We good. That's a conversation. Right. And you get out there quickly. I call it shoveling the piles while they're small. You don't let it happen again and again and again. And now it's a mountain and it's a lot harder to move. And so you get out there quickly, you have a conversation. And very often that's what it takes to get it turned around. Now, if that doesn't turn it around the next time, your conversation may need to include a consequence.
Right.
Listen, we've talked about this 3 other times. It's still happening. Mm-hmm. So I've got to get your attention. If that happens again, then this is what's going to happen. Okay, we've got to turn that around. I mean, it's the old adage, if you want to change a behavior, you got to change a consequence for that behavior. If the conversation isn't enough to change the consequence, it might have to be something a little more harsh. But have conversations with people. Mm-hmm. The whole objective of a consequence is to improve performance. It's not to humiliate or embarrass or remind someone who's boss or put them in their place. That stuff is so counterproductive and old school. Yes. It's a wonder anybody even has a job anymore that's subscribing to that nonsense.
Right. Absolutely. And I can tell you 100% when I was first a manager, I was definitely the guy. Now, obviously, I preface this by saying this was like early 90s. This was a different time. But, absolutely. Were those conversations yelling? Yeah, absolutely. I would no doubt let my temper get the best of me, and have those conversations by yelling at somebody. Now, again, it was a different time when that person that I was yelling at may yell right back at me, and sure. At the end of the day, you're punching out, and see you tomorrow, Dave, and everything was good. It's a different time now, but over the years, you start to realize that amount of energy that you put out to do that yields you nothing. Absolutely nothing.
No, it's stressful for you. It makes the job not fun for you, and the person makes life not fun. But you know why I think we get angry? We're angry at ourselves.
Yes.
We're ticked off deep down. We're ticked off at ourselves that we didn't address it earlier, that we know we weren't clear in the first place, that we didn't handle this way back when we could have. Mm-hmm. And wherever we're angry, it's not right. It's not going to be effective. Do you want to be right? You want to be effective? I want to be effective and right. And in order to do that, I have to communicate what's right in a manner that's respectable. I may not respect the performance, but I got to respect the person so that message gets through. I'm wasting two people's time.
I always tell my team that you don't want to win the argument. You want to win the customer.
That's right.
That should
That's
always
exactly
be your
right.
goal.
And it's like you want to, we pile on people. We go to have a conversation with them and we bring up the 10 other things that they did. All that does, you're going to read off their rap sheet, their 10-point indictment. And all that does is take the focus off the issue at hand too. Deal with that issue in isolation. And be specific with your consequences too. See, specificity aids accountability, whether we're talking about clarity or feedback or consequences. The more specific you can be in your expectation, the clearer the target is. People know what to hit. The more specific you can be in your feedback, rather than just say, Dave, you did a great job with that. Well, that's nice. It's better than nothing. But if I could point out something specific that you did particularly well, now I've taken that feedback to another level. Mm-hmm. You're more likely to repeat that behavior again, and I'm paying attention. That's a double win. Right. On the other hand, if I say, Dave, you really screwed that up, that's not helpful either. All right. It's very general. If I can mention some particular flaw that did mess that up, then you're more likely to fix that particular flaw. So we got to get more specific, and the same goes to consequences. Yes. We say things like, you know what, Dave, if you come in late tomorrow, there's going to be consequences. Well, what the heck does that mean?
What does that
You're going to stand me in the corner, spank me, egg my house, give me a wedgie? What are you going to do? I mean, that's such a bunch of nonsense. But I think, again, that we use that there's going to be trouble. You're going to be in trouble. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a consequence, because deep down, we don't want to do anything.
Right. And it's funny.
We want to bluff them and play a game of chicken to see who flinches first.
Right. And on every write-up form that I've ever seen at every company, it always has that box that says up to and including termination. That's what the consequence is. So
right. Yes, right. Exactly.
It's anything
exactly.
from...
Let's leave ourselves lots of leeway.
Yes.
Now, I'll also say this. So whatever you say the consequence is going to be, you're going to have to enforce it.
Right.
I don't care if they're related to you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if they're your best friend or your best hand.
Right.
If you say you're going to do it, you've got to do it. I don't care if you're shorthanded. I don't care if you don't feel well that day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if things aren't happy at home and you're just not yourself. None of that matters.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What matters is that you do what you say you're going to do, or you're going to lose a lot of credibility, or worse, you're going to get sued because you're going to enforce it with this one and not with that one.
Yes.
And now you're going to get sued for discrimination because you couldn't do your job.
Right. And I have at times had whatever the issue was, and was very clear, if this happens again, you're getting sent home. And had it happen on a day when, of course, you're shorthanded, you've got other things, and I've still sent a technician and advisor home and gone back to the rest of the team and said, okay, yeah, I sent him home. He's not here for the rest of the day, and now we're shorthanded, and now I'll do what I have to do to help us get through that. If it was a technician and we don't have enough help in the shop, I'll make phone calls to customers to say, hey, may need your car overnight, whatever it is. I'll be there to support the team. But you absolutely have to enforce the consequences you said you were. You can't do it when it's convenient for you to enforce them. It has to be all the time. You
have to. And then what you just said, people rally around that. When they know you made a tough decision and that your walk and your talk match, they will step up. You send such a strong message. They'll do more than their share. They'll give that discretionary effort. They'll go that second mile, especially if that person was toxic. They know they were a distraction. They know they were warned. They really do rally around that. That's a big thing. Mm-hmm. And the fact is, what you tolerate will continue.
Yes.
And so if you want to change a behavior, you got to change the consequence for that behavior. What you permit, you promote. What you permit will persist.
Yes.
And so something simple like people coming in late every day. You know why people come in late every day? Because nothing happens when they come in late.
I let them.
And so without, you would never promote the wrong behavior, but by permitting it, you're promoting it. You're basically saying it's okay, especially if you're a top guy, come and go as you please. Mm-hmm. And what that does is send a terrible message.
Right.
We have something in our business here. We have a small team, Dave, so we have no margin for error. I need people to be here when they're supposed to be here.
Right.
And I need them to work while they're at work, which is never a given. Some people are at work; they don't work while they're at work. All right, they're doing other stuff. And so we have a lot of fun. I pay people really well, but when they're here, they belong to me. All right, and they need to be here on time. And so the third time you're late in a year, you're fired. All right. So the first time you're late, this is called progressive discipline. It's a verbal warning. The second time, it's a written warning. The third time, you have to go do something else.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter who you are.
Right.
Guess what? I don't have a problem with
people coming in late.
Never. The last guy I fired for coming in late was 7 years ago. Right? And I live in LA. We have every excuse for people to be late. There was traffic, there was mudslides, wildfires, an earthquake, a riot, a freeway shooter occasionally, right? But that's what the first two are for. They're for that stuff.
Yes.
The third time, you better be there, and then your employment anniversary, the clock starts again. But I don't tolerate that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't continue.
Right.
It doesn't happen. And I see these managers, They keep having the same conversation with the same person about the same issue, and it never gets any better. It's time to have a different conversation.
Yes, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. I think that's a good place for us to step off, Dave. This was an awesome conversation that I know a lot of people are going to be able to listen to over and over and over again, and start to rethink how they are approaching their teams. And maybe some team members are looking, saying, oh, I wish my boss would hold me more accountable.
Right.
It would make the team a higher performing team. Dave, I thank you very, very much for being with me today. It was an awesome conversation, and like I said,
my pleasure.
A lot of people.
I had a great time, and the time flew. Thanks for letting me share, Dave.
Absolutely, it was awesome. Thank you. Good stuff.